This is the kind of crap that's going on in our colleges and schools across the country today. This is what we are being taught. We're being taught about privilege. We're being taught about stereotypes. We're being told not to offend other people because, God forbid, we dress up as a Mexican or whatever for Halloween. We're being told, on a little side note, not to say Merry Christmas and, be inclusive and about diversity and all this other crap. And I just wanted to take a few minutes on radio tonight to talk about it, really to vent, because truthfully, I walked out of that class today with my blood boiling. I am so sick of this. It's going on and on and on, and there's just no end. These professors are absolutely relentless in their quest to indoctrinate their students. Not all professors. I have to throw out this disclaimer every single time I talk about this. There's a handful of professors out there that are good and fair and unbiased. But the majority of them, especially here in my state of Connecticut, are extremely biased and think nothing of shoving their views down the throats of the students in their classes. And it's not even, I try to talk about this as much as possible because I feel like a lot of older people, people that aren't in school nowadays, don't have an idea really of how bad it is. And I'm trying to communicate that to everyone out there listening. What I found is that these instances of indoctrination, they're not just like, they don't just occur from time to time. In other words, they don't just happen once in a blue moon. This is like a series of frequent attacks on conservatives. It's a series of frequent lies, truthfully, that come out of these professors' mouths, whether it's about American history, whether it's about whatever. It's a series, and it never lets up. It just goes on and on and on. And just when you think that, okay, this has been going on for far too long, surely it'll let up soon, something else happens. And we're learning about some other leftist crap, how terrible America is, how we're founded on race, whatever. And it's not just in Connecticut, folks. This is going on everywhere, and I'm telling you, I'm so sick of it. I'm fed up with these professors teaching about political correctness and how we have to, not offend anyone with costumes or what we say or how we present ourselves. I'm fed up with these professors threatening and attacking conservatives, and yes, that happens frequently. I'm fed up with these professors standing in front of class and telling the students flat-out lies and distorting the history of this country. I am so sick of it. So sick of it. And then what we get from the left, this is always their defense. When we call them out on it, this is their defense. They say, well, don't professors have the freedom of speech? Aren't professors free to teach in the way that they want to teach? I heard this over and over and over again when I exposed Professor Terry, my sophomore year of college, when he said that Republicans, if they won the Senate, would cause colleges to start closing down. And I called him out on it, and I said this was inappropriate. This should never have been said. This is an abuse of power on Professor Terry's part. I said all of these things. I exposed him. And what we got from Professor Terry and the rest of the liberals doesn't he have freedom of speech? Shouldn't he have the freedom to talk about what he wants to talk about in classroom? And here's what I have to say to that. First of all, if you're going to talk to me about freedom of speech, I would say this. What about freedom of speech for conservative students? Again, it's not just liberal indoctrination that we're dealing with here. We're trying to deal with and fight back against a vicious, threatening attack on conservative students. Many professors across the country And I know this because I read stories, I talk to people. Many professors across the country conduct themselves in a way that forces conservative students into silence. They force conservative students into silence, and they don't want to speak up. They're afraid to speak their mind. They're afraid to raise their hand and challenge the professors, and I believe that the professors purposefully do this because they don't want any resistance whatsoever. And so what happens is we have a bunch of conservative students out there who are afraid to speak up, and as a result, this liberal indoctrination goes on and on and on, completely unchallenged. So if you're going to talk to me about freedom of speech, you better talk to me about freedom of speech for conservatives too. You better be speaking out against this threatening nature of liberal professors to their conservative students. Second, the whole concept of political indoctrination occurring in the education system is completely and entirely inconsistent with the primary goal of the education system itself. I don't think it's so much of a stretch to say that the primary goal of our education system here in this country should be to encourage free thought. Shouldn't that be, shouldn't that be the goal? To encourage free thought? To encourage kids to keep an open mind, to look at both sides and determine which side makes more sense? Doesn't that make sense? So when you get these professors that just stand up there in front of class and spew their rhetoric, lies about our founding, political correctness, they talk about feminism, they talk about Barack Obama, they talk about how evil conservatives are. That's inconsistent with what I believe should be the goal of our education system. That is not encouraging free thought. That's not encouraging open-mindedness whatsoever. It's brainwashing through and through.